There's some really bad stuff going on with the internet lately. UN agency calls for global cyber warfare treaty, driver's license for web users. Basically, this is a question of disabling the internet as we know it in the name of security. It's always in the name of security, isn't it? It says in this article, a cyber war would be worse than a tsunami, a catastrophe, the UN official said, highlighting examples such as attacks on Estonia last year. You know, they're trying to scare you, of course, into giving up your freedom as usual. I just like to point out, you know, the internet's been around for a really long time. And so far, nobody has disabled the government with it, other than by spreading a lot of information that makes it hard for them to get us just go along with whatever it is they want to do, like sheep. Google to enlist NSA to fight off cyber attacks. Google is teaming up with the Itanimulli. Anything you do or say on the internet can and will be held against you. The world's largest internet search company and the world's most powerful electronic surveillance organization, can you say Big Brother, are teaming up in the name of cybersecurity. Privacy advocates concerned about a repeat of the NSA's warrantless interception of America's phone calls and emails after September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks say information sharing must be limited and closely overseen. Right. They, you know, you give them a lot of power and then trust them with it to stay within the boundaries that they're supposed to stay within, as if they're going to do that. Google sharing information with the NSA. How much worse can it get? You know, this is nothing new. An article from 2008, but this had been going around for a while. Death of free internet is imminent. Canada will become test case. It's been a long time that the big corporations, I'm sure you know, the big corporations like Bell and Verizon, trying to lobby the government to change the internet to get rid of net neutrality where everyone has equal access to information. I mean, you can have equal access to any kind of information from any source, but under the new system, it would be just like kind of the way your cable package is set up. You know, you would buy access to certain websites, and anything beyond that would be, you'd be charged for it. So, you know, people are going to buy packages that include the big names, the corporations, and then if you want to go visit a blog, you're going to have to pay extra. So, you know, people like us who probably visit like, what, 50 websites in a day, it would be prohibitive. There's no way we could keep doing what we're doing. Obama was interviewed on the 1st of February, and he said, I'm all for net neutrality, and they raised the issue of how privatizing the internet would affect the economy. Okay, between you and me, we know that actually the goal in the long term is to crash the economy. Not maybe crash the whole thing, right? Because the rich people don't want to go down, but to create a really big class gap between the very rich, powerful elite and the poor, basically to get rid of the middle class. So getting rid of net neutrality would affect the middle class. So, but he's saying he's all for net neutrality, but wait and see. When something comes up, they'll make up some reason to actually get rid of it. Number one, it doesn't matter what Obama said on the campaign trail or now regarding net neutrality, because if you remember, he also said that he would pull the troops out. And two, it doesn't matter what Obama says about net neutrality, because it may have nothing to do with the United States at this point. The testing ground may be in Canada. So this may start in Canada, and then later it'll be moved to the US. And for now, they can look good because they're standing up for net neutrality, but it's just a big charade. Okay, but the bigger issue is not about how it's going to affect the economy. The bigger issue is, of course, the power that this gives the government and the police state. And, well, the corporations as well, which is kind of the same thing. But, you know, obviously people like us who are circulating information, and just the fact that the information is out there and we all have access to it, is a massive threat to a tyrannical regime. Because, you know, one of the key things if you want to manipulate someone's mind is restrict their access to information. You know, any basic cult or whatever will tell you that, you know. You keep your cult members isolated from the rest of the world and you restrict what they can know. And that way it's much easier to just influence them with whatever you're saying. So it's kind of like a cult, but on a really big scale. Okay, what does this have to do with Canada? Well, on this website here from Information Clearinghouse, and I think this came from Global Research originally, He says, I've discovered the demise of the free internet is slated for 2010 in Canada. And he said this in 2008, and this probably comes from even earlier. And 2 years later around the world. Canada is seen as a good choice to implement such shameful and sinister changes, since Canadians are viewed as being laissez-faire, politically uninformed, and an easy target. The corporate marauders will iron out the wrinkles in Canada and then spring a new, castrated version of the internet on the rest of the world, probably with little fanfare, except for some dire warnings about the evil free internet and the CEOs spouting about safety and security. These buzzwords usually work pretty well. Okay, now this brings me to the other issue, the upcoming Olympics and the possibility of a false flag attack. A lot of rumors circulating about, either what we would call a false flag or what the mainstream media would call terrorism. Everybody's sort of thinking chlorine, ammonium nitrate. However, if you notice in the past, before a false flag attack takes place, the public doesn't usually have a lot of indicators of what's going to happen. The CIA does, of course, because they always know and they could always stop it, and they don't because, of course, they're the ones doing it, or they're involved. But the public doesn't know. I mean, except for Alex Jones with 9/11 or whatever. But, does it have to be the Olympics? What about the Super Bowl? What about a lot of things? A lot of things could be targets. But they're really going all out for this. So a lot of rumors going on about what could happen at the Olympics. It is possible that no physical false flag attack will happen whatsoever. It doesn't really need to, because we can learn from the swine flu. What they did was they just created a scenario, a hypothetical scenario really, in the future. That was the problem. The reaction was what they got from the public through their propaganda. And the solution was to offer you a useless vaccine that was going to poison everybody. And they amazingly got 45% of Canadians to take it. But you see, there was never a threat. There was never a pandemic. But just the fear that they could generate with the media and the way they could manipulate the health establishment, that alone was enough to get people to roll up their sleeves and get injected with poison, okay? So learn from that. You don't have to always actually have anything happening to offer the solution. So it is possible that all they have to do is state that there is a threat to put all the police state in place, and of course it'll never leave. On the other hand, they may do something, and I wouldn't rule out a cyber attack. If you look at some of the stuff that's going on, where is their next war theater? They have a few in the Middle East. They've got stuff that they plan to do here. Now, I can't say, this is not a prediction, it's just a thought. But one of them is the internet. And if you look at what's going on, the internet is a big part of their plans for the near future. So I wouldn't rule out the possibility of a false flag cyber attack of some kind just to shut down the internet. Because the shutting down of the internet, or the changing of the internet, is imminent and may actually happen this year. And there's some evidence that it could be, that Canada would be the testing ground. All they have to say is boo, and the sheep will run in whatever direction they want. It's impossible to know what they're doing. It's impossible to know what's going to happen. But I just wouldn't rule out the possibility that nothing physical is going to happen. No lives are going to be sacrificed. Just my intuition. Something is going to change very much in 2010. 2009, things went on almost as usual. 2010, things are going to change in some way. And one of the possible things is that they're going to create this tsunami, but it's going to be in cyberspace.